There's a country out there so big, so loud, so gloriously over the top, that the rest of the world just watches with its jaw on the floor. Here, everything is bigger. The cars, the burgers, the buildings, the dreams. Welcome to Tiny Brain, Big Questions, where we explore the biggest questions in the world with simple little drawings. So buckle up and let's road trip through the land of more, the most extreme country on Earth. Right away, we hit our first problem. This place is almost too big to cross. From one coast to the other, it stretches about 2,800 miles. Here's the wild part. Laid out flat, the United States is actually wider than the moon. Just driving across takes around 40 hours, rolling through 4 different time zones. But that is only the mainland. Add the scattered islands, and the whole country spills across 9 time zones. Somewhere out in all that space, the land itself starts doing strange things. It piles its most extreme places right on top of each other. The lowest point in North America sinks below sea level, in a place called Death Valley. But the tallest peak in the lower 48? Just 85 miles away. That same Death Valley is the hottest place on the entire planet. It once hit 134 degrees, hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk. Head a little north, and the ground splits wide open. This is the Grand Canyon, a mile deep, carved by a single patient river. It is so vast you could stack the world's tallest building twice inside and still not reach the top. Keep driving north, and you hit an ocean of fresh water. The Great Lakes hold a fifth of all the fresh surface water on the whole planet. Lake Superior alone could flood both North and South America under a foot of water. But this land is not always gentle. It is the tornado capital of the world, spinning up over 1,200 twisters a year. Pack 4 Europes together, and you still would not match it. So how do you tame a land this size? You pave it. America's highway system runs about 46,000 miles, enough to circle the entire planet almost twice. When it is not paving the wild, it is protecting it. America invented the national park. Yellowstone was the world's very first, back in 1872. That peaceful park, though? It is sitting on a giant supervolcano, home to more than half of all the geysers on Earth. But the parks aren't the only giants here. Nature grows living things so huge they make skyscrapers look modest. In California stands the tallest tree on Earth, taller than a 35-story building. The most massive tree of all is older than the Roman Empire itself. Out across the plains roams a comeback king, the American bison. 60 million once thundered across the grass, then they almost vanished, and now 500,000 are back. A 1-ton bison can still jump 6 feet straight up, so try not to be in the way. But a land is nothing without its people, and America has a lot of them. It is the 3rd most populous country on Earth, behind only India and China, with around 340 million people. And here is the twist. Almost none of them started here. More than 350 different languages are spoken in American homes. It really is a melting pot, and most of it poured in through one tiny door. Ellis Island processed about 12 million immigrants, a little island right beside a giant statue. Today, around 4 in 10 Americans can trace a relative back to that one little island. All these people didn't just fill the place up. Together, they built something staggering, a giant money machine. The American economy is so massive, it makes up about a quarter of the entire world's economy. That is roughly 26 cents of every single dollar made on planet Earth. Its companies are now worth about half of all the stock value in the entire world. And here's the kicker. The dollar itself has become the world's money, stacked in vaults on every continent. But money is only half the story. America is the planet's idea factory. It has more billionaires and has won more Nobel Prizes than any other country by a mile. On defense, it outspends the next several nations combined. Lately, it has even been winning a brand new race, one that plays out entirely off the planet. One private company, SpaceX, now launches more rockets than the entire rest of the world put together. Then, it lands them, standing back up on their legs, ready to fly again next week. But American excess is not only about power, it is also, well, dinner. On Super Bowl weekend, the country's biggest night, Americans eat about 1.5 billion chicken wings. That is enough wings to circle the whole Earth nearly 3 times. Naturally, most Americans would rather not leave the car to get any of it. America basically invented the drive-thru, where you can grab food, coffee, cash, even get married, without standing up. But for all America pours into eating, its biggest export was never food at all. It handed the whole world its soundtrack. Jazz and blues were born down in the American South. Then hip-hop arrived, born at a single birthday party in the Bronx, one night in 1973. But America doesn't just make the world's music. It loves a good cymbal, too, and even its biggest ones hide a punchline or two. The famous 50-star flag was designed by a 17-year-old for a school project. He got a B-. The Statue of Liberty crossed the Atlantic as a flat pack, shipped over in 350 pieces. Then there is Mount Rushmore, where those giant stone faces were carved mostly with dynamite. But to really get America, you have to understand one thing. It is not really one country. It is 50 proud states, each one convinced it is the best. And many of them are bigger than entire nations. So let's take the tour. First stop, and it has to be Texas. In Texas, they took everything as bigger personally, and they will absolutely tell you so. Texas was once its own independent country, for nearly 10 years, with its own president, army, and flag. It is bigger than the whole of France. If Texas were its own country, it would out-earn Italy or Canada, a single state pulling in more money than most of the planet. One single Texas cattle ranch is bigger than the entire state of Rhode Island. Now, for the real surprise. Cowboy, Texas is secretly the #1 wind power state in America. 6 different flags have flown over Texas, which is exactly where the Six Flags theme parks got their name. They even built their state capital taller than the one in Washington. Now, head west, all the way to California. On its own, California would be the 4th biggest economy on Earth, bigger than Japan. That wealth grows on trees, literally. Bite into an almond almost anywhere on Earth, and odds are it grew in California sunshine. The landscape flexes too. Here, you can surf in the ocean and ski in the mountains on the very same day. California is also home to Hollywood, whose famous signs started life as a cheesy real estate billboard. Just up the coast sits Silicon Valley, where the world's most valuable companies are packed within a few miles of one another. Now drift down to the Sunshine State, Florida. Down here, Walt Disney World is about twice the size of the entire island of Manhattan. To buy that swamp cheaply, Disney secretly used half a dozen fake companies, so no one would guess. But that same Florida swamp comes with its own wild residents. More than 1 million alligators. That is 1 gator for every 18 people. And it is the only place on Earth where alligators and crocodiles live side by side. You know those wild Florida man headlines? They exist because Florida makes its arrest stories public faster than anywhere else, not because Florida is actually weirder. Weirdness aside, the crowds still pour in. Florida's Magic Kingdom is the single most visited theme park on Earth. And just up the coast, Cape Canaveral is the busiest rocket launch pad on the planet. Swing back up the East Coast, and the volume gets loud in New York City. More languages are spoken here than in any city in human history, up to 800 of them. Those voices never stop moving. The subway runs all night, with more stations than any other system on Earth. All that restless energy crams onto one small island. Manhattan is the most crowded place in America. Look up, and the Empire State Building takes a beating, struck by lightning about 25 times a year. Now steer for the giants at the very edges of the map. Way up north sits Alaska, so huge you could fit Texas inside it 2.5 times. The strangest part? America simply bought the whole thing from Russia for about 2 cents an acre. That bargain bought a lot of edge, too. Alaska's coastline is longer than all the other 49 states combined. At its closest, it sits just 2.5 miles from Russia, across the water. Then, leap thousands of miles into the Pacific, where Hawaii floats all alone, the loneliest spot on the entire planet. Reach it, and you're almost 2,400 miles from the nearest continent, the most isolated island chain anywhere. But measure it from the deep sea floor up, and Hawaii's Mauna Kea stands a full mile taller than Everest, the true tallest mountain on Earth. Back on the mainland, the excess just keeps coming. Roll into the Nevada desert, and Americans built a whole city out of nothing, Las Vegas. A city of dazzling lights in the middle of nowhere, its glow so bright against the dark desert that astronauts can pick it out from orbit. Trade the neon for oak, and Kentucky hides a quieter kind of excess. More bourbon aging in its warehouses than there are people. Line those barrels up, and it works out to about 3.5 for every single resident. That same one place supplies everyone trick shows up in Louisiana, where every drop of Tabasco sauce on Earth still comes from one tiny island. From there, it is shipped out to nearly 200 countries. But not every extreme is one to brag about. In Pennsylvania, the town of Centralia sits on a coal fire that has burned underground since 1962. It could keep smoldering for 200 more years. Away from the smoke, the quiet heartland is bursting with its own giant pride. Tiny Iowa, deep in that heartland, grows 3 times more corn than all of Mexico. The bragging isn't just about crops either. Minnesota's Mall of America is so big that 7 baseball stadiums could fit inside. But you don't need a mall to go big in America. The country loves a good roadside giant, like a ball of twine in Kansas that weighs over 13 tons. Or Carhenge, a full Stonehenge built entirely out of 39 old cars. But maybe the most American icon of all is a humble roadside diner. Waffle House almost never closes, so the disaster agency literally tracks hurricanes by whether it shuts down. So, after all of that, what exactly is America? It is the land of more. Too big to picture, stacked with extremes, and packed with people from everywhere. 50 proud states, and every last one still convinced it's the best. If you enjoyed the ride, subscribe to Tiny Brain, Big Questions, and tell me in the comments which country I should explore next. Until next time.